Hi, everyone. Welcome to another exciting edition of the Transform Your Confidence Show, where my goal each week is to have insightful conversations with innovative people who have cracked the code on an aspect of professional development that can help many of us fast track our journeys to accomplishing our most ambitious and outlandish goals. This week's Mindset and Clarity themed episode is entitled How to Unlock Your Wealth Roadmap by using the Quantum Enlightenment System. My guest today is the founder of this system, Ellyn Katherine Shamalov. Welcome, fabulous lady. I cannot wait to have this conversation with you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, let's just dive right in then. Ellyn is going to be walking us through this momentarily, but before she does, my obvious first question to you, Ellyn, is this. What did you discover that was missing in your life, or perhaps you saw was missing in people's lives around you, whether it's in the personal space or whether it's in the professional space, that led you to creating this system? Can we start there?
Yes. So I started off my business with, wanting to give people that bliss feeling that I had when all this information started coming through and I felt detoxed. And I thought, oh my God, this is amazing. But I started off with health coaching and, putting a little spirituality here and there and not really sure about what it was going to be like and how people were going to accept it, because there was a lot of woo-woo involved. And it took me some time to accept the fact that my greater calling was to actually teach the teachers. And because I didn't want to accept that, I just kept playing in this little small fields of, no, I just want to help a couple of people here and there. No, I just want to do it this way. But this is what created this quantum enlightenment system. It's me being open to what spirit had for me. It wasn't me that created it. It was spirit that brought it through me. And it was something that made me realize, holy moly, I really have to step into what my divine mission is. And that's what was ultimately missing, knowing and really being able to step into what my divine mission is.
Was there something in your life, Ellyn, that you felt took you here? Do you feel that that there was an event or something that kind of led you here, that orchestrated your journey to kind of this particular point? Or do you feel it was more like a download that happened as part of your general spiritual journey?
I would say it's both. When I started, when I was younger, I'm sure you hear a lot of people say this, but when I was younger, I was talking to angels. I knew there were spirits around me. I just, I couldn't see it. It was just this knowing that whenever I would look up in my bed, I'm talking to my team and I'm talking to, the spirits that there. And it started to scare me when I started to see spirits and feel their energy. I was about maybe 7 at that time. So I said, wait a minute, this is too strange for me. I really could not tell my family because I knew that they would think I was crazy. So I had to lock it up. And really, I guess my fear just stopped me from being able to be open. And so I knew that, now I know that from a young age, I came here for something bigger than I ever can imagine as a human, right? And then going down my path, when I met my husband, he was my catalyst because, life takes you on the journey. You go through your experiences. Before I met my husband, I started becoming more holistic, and boom, as soon as I became more holistic, I met this guy in a fantastic way that, we knew was a very divine, and, that's a whole nother story, but we knew that it was a divine connection. And he was my catalyst because he was holistic and a little bit spiritual, but he was one of those, what do you call them? They think outside the box. There's this word for it. I forgot what it is. It's at the tip of my tongue, but he was, he used to bring in spirit science. I don't know if you ever seen that.
Yeah, so I have actually.
Yeah. So we used to watch that on our dates. And
I love that.
Yeah. So it was amazing because that's what kind of just brought everything back. And I remember being in the shower one time And all this information just started flooding through. And I said, where the hell is this coming from? And I had to Google it to actually see if any of this had accuracy to it, because I just thought it was crazy. And that's when I started realizing, oh my God, all this information is coming through. Okay, so this is good. That's what originally brought me into the spirituality. And then, funny enough, he and I had made promised each other that we were going to better ourselves. Our, whole dynamic would be to better ourselves. And we went on spiritual retreats. And the last spiritual retreat was, I think, the ticking time bomb that we were waiting for. Though I cannot even tell you how amazing it was that not only did we get the healing, we're not fully healed, but did we get what we needed from that? But it turned out to be that we went at a time that the doctor that was there was actually teaching about these 7 life lessons. I had never heard of them. And I thought, wow, how miraculous is that we're here at the same time, right? We didn't know about any of this. And so we took the class, and it just so resonated with me. I felt it all through my body. And I just realized, like, after that, the workshop, and also after the healing, that's when I said, I need to come back home and help people feel this way.
And at what point did you actually reopen yourself from that young girl that kind of switched off the spirit world? When did you kind of reopen yourself and realize that, okay, that world is actually not a scary place to be in, it's one to be understood? But when did that happen for you? Because I kind of feel that at some point that would have happened in order for you and your husband to have met when you did, and to be on a very aligned journey towards where you want to head, as spirits in having this human experience,
So that actually happened with him when we were doing one of our, because I told you we went on so many different types of healing retreats. And there was a time where we went to one randomly that, we concentrated on that aspect, and I had to accept it, and I had to work on it. And it really took me my journey of stepping into my own power and stepping into my own divine mission to make me accept all the information that has been coming through, to even accept the quantum enlightenment system, because I'm at awe every time I see what it does for people. Because I go on through these readings, and I'm just led by spirit. I'm guided. I'm told, and it's just listening to it and really knowing that this is coming through. That's what that just boggles my mind, because it shows how my journey has evolved to this point.
So let's dive in then. Let's talk a little bit about the system. Let's start here, the obvious place. What is the Quantum Enlightenment System? Let's share that with everyone watching, listening, and reading this.
Okay, so the Quantum Enlightenment System is a 6-week program where it's very individualized. It's one-on-one. And it's a program that literally uninstalls programs from your cellular memory record and installs new programs. And it also helps to activate your divine blueprint and also reprogram the divine blueprint.
Okay, so let's break some of this down, shall we? Let's go in a direction here. Let's first start by asking you, what are these kind of 7, steps that you're talking about? Let's go there first. I feel that's where we need to go first.
Okay, so let me break this down. When let's say, in the whole system, it takes your name, and we break down your name into the Hebrew phonetic.
Okay.
And according to the Hebrew phonetic, because the Hebrew language is an ancient language, it's one of the light languages, and it's a very strong vibration. So we take your name, we take it into the Hebrew phonetic, and then we get the codes that your divine blueprint, your light body, is holding, right? This is the information that programs your body. Your body is the most advanced technology out there. So your body is holding the programs which the programs is in the light body, right? The light body is your divine blueprint. So you have that divine blueprint. Everybody has a divine blueprint from just their name. It programs the experiences you're meant to have. It programs your ultimate mission, your goals, your talents, all of that good stuff. It's all in there. So all we're doing is accessing that information. And Spirit led me to look into the programs behind the challenges, the limiting beliefs, and also the soul mission, the divine mission. So what are the blockages stopping you from entering into your divine mission? So I'm looking at those programs. And then with the 7 life lessons, which I call ascension lessons, because really, if you look at it, it's all intertwined together. And if you can learn what those lessons are, which we will go into, then you can essentially ascend into a next level you. So we take, each lesson has 3 to 5 emotions attached to them.
Okay. And can we go into them? Like, high level, like the 7, what these 7 ascension lessons are, high level. So people can get kind of a roadmap in their minds as to kind of what this journey looks like that you take them on.
Yes. So judgment, control, forgiveness, identity, separation, unconditional love, and divine guidance. Those are the 7 ascension lessons. Yeah.
And are these lessons that people do, in a specific manner? Like, how do you have them do this? Just so that, we can understand that a little better.
So in the program, what happens is, first of all, when I pull up your name, I already know what programs you have in the limiting beliefs aspect. But then we look at all the emotions that are attached to these lessons. Okay. And as we're in the program, I'm just facilitating. You are in the space and you are telling me where it is in your body. You're literally pinpointing where it is in your body because you are holding it. And so if you feel those emotions in your body, not just by consciously being, awake and open, but if you can feel something when we go into the program, then that's already telling me these are the life lessons you're working with. Because obviously there are experiences in our lives that will cause these life lessons to come about, or these emotions to come about. But when you can understand the nitty gritty of what it is, then you can understand how you can look at your life in a higher level and say, oh, okay, this experience is teaching me this lesson.
Absolutely. Ellyn, I want to ask you this based on what you just said there. Many people talk, and you've kind of, mentioned it here as well in our conversation. Many people talk about the soul blueprint, right? Like we hear this a lot. For the uninitiated, what is this and why does it matter? Can you just explain and elaborate on that a little bit? Because I feel that will give a lot of credence and credibility around why it's important to go through this, 7 ascension lessons that, people should go on. So explain that. What is a soul blueprint?
The soul blueprint is basically, before you come into a physical body, your soul decides, hey, we're going to experience this. We're going to experience loss. We're going to experience love. We're going to experience hate. We're going to experience all these types of things for you so that, number one, if you have any karma from past lives, you can know how it feels. And they don't talk about karma in the spirit world, right? They're just saying, well, you killed that person in that life. So now you're going to be the one who's going to get killed instead. So it's just it's a game to experience different things and to have different types of feelings when you're in a physical body, right? So the soul blueprint is basically holding, what experiences do I want to have? And then where do I want to go with that? What am I supposed to learn from that? And essentially, in this game of separation, in this game of being separated from our higher level selves, we're just meant to experience all these types of things, but we're also meant to essentially purify ourselves from it, right? And get into a higher level of consciousness where we can say, okay, I've experienced it. I've experienced the karma. I've gone through it. Now it's time for me to let it all go. And that's the part that a lot of us are having a hard time doing.
And that's what the 7 ascension lessons essentially will guide and help people to go through for their own individual experience. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about the invisible structures within the ethereal body. So that is the core of spiritual practice. We all know this, right? But, you know, a lot of people don't really fully understand kind of the mechanisms of that. So how working with these helps liberate us from these unhealthy attachments is, I guess, what I want to ask you. So what are these invisible structures within the ethereal body that we need to work with to help liberate us from all these unhealthy attachments, some of the things that you've been talking about? Can you help us with that piece?
Yes. So ethereal structures are stuff like crystals. Crystals are mainly in the head area. Then we have divinity thresholds, which stop us. So I'll tell you on a rounder scale what ethereal structures basically are. Light can penetrate through anything. And so because there's so much light from source, right? And because we're such high vibrational spirits it's supposed to be in a really dense body, right? That we had to put all these ethereal structures in place to stop us from being able to have all that light. So it's like protection, it's gear. It's like, oh, let's just really be separate from God. Let's just really come down into density and not have any of our powers. And so we put all these types of armor, crystals, anything that can stop us from getting fully activated. And so now, you know, when we have these crystals and these ethereal structures and we try to meditate and do all these great things, it'll last for 24 hours, but it will not fully assimilate into the physical body because you have these structures that are stopping that light from penetrating. And the problem is a lot of these ethereal structures, crystals, divinity thresholds, they all hold these programs. They're holding these memories. They're holding, so it's like the memories are holding it in place, like the glue. And the fears, the emotions that we were talking about that are attached to the life lessons, including the programs in your soul blueprint. So all of these things are literally holding these structures. And so once you can remove not only the programs, you can remove the structures and then be so connected to source to the point where you won't have these doubts. You won't have those low thought programs that everyone still kind of feels, even though they do all this meditative practice, right? Reiki and everything is amazing, but this takes your spiritual practice to the next level.
Okay. So is it possible to experience immediate relief from symptoms that have persisted for like years and years?
It depends on what they are. Most of the time, you know, headaches and there are different types of symptoms that people will experience because of the crystals. Like for me, for example, I used to have crazy migraines until I did Light Body, until I actually received Light Body on me. My migraines were gone. So it really depends on what it is. Because most of the time these ethereal structures, because they're stopping the light from penetrating, there's not enough flow. And because our light is not fully activated, our exotonal meridians are not connected. The electrical circuit basically is not fully there. The wiring is all cut off. You don't have all that energy that we're meant to have. So then because of that, certain other areas in our body will start to feel it. It's not just because the emotions are trapped there, but it's also because the light is not able to help penetrate.
I got it. So let me ask you this so I can fully understand something that you said there around crystals. What do you feel the crystal's role is in activating or inhibiting the process of enlightenment? Can you share that?
Yes. So the crystals are in very specific places in the head. To stop both brain hemispheres from working in harmony together. So you hear people say, I'm more left brain, I'm more right brain, or whatever it is. This is the divine masculine and feminine, the left and the right brain. So they need to work in harmony together, but the crystals stop that. The crystals, number one, they kind of like do a ting if you're reaching a certain level of enlightenment, right? Or if you're trying to. So it'll stop you because it won't allow the information to take. It won't allow that to stick, and it won't allow the harmonization of both brain hemispheres to work. It won't allow the pineal gland, the pituitary gland to work correctly together so the hormones can be in proper order. It won't allow it stops the flow. It stops the flow of the electrical circuits to go through. So the crystals really do hold a lot of power.
So what are we saying here? Are we saying that we have to remove those crystals in order for the light to come in, or do we feel that the crystals need to be there to ensure that, we're housed in this kind of limited body, structure, and with all that light coming in, that we need to understand how to be able to use what's coming into our benefit? I want to try and understand that.
I love
that
this
piece.
question.
Yeah.
So right now we are in this space where it's like the game of separation is over. We're done, right? We're not meant to have this experience anymore. Now we all just want all of us to be fully activated. And so this is why this work is heavily coming through, is because we really need to remove these crystals so that we can have more light. And so we can go into the fifth dimensional field. We want to go to a higher level. Our bodies, this is an amazing time, where we can actually start to experience how the human body will start to change its structure into a lighter form. Because right now it's so dense. It's a 3D field. We're so dense, right? So if you can remove those structures, the crystals, the divinity thresholds, all of it, if we can remove those and have more of that light to come in, our light quotient would be higher. We would have a higher percentage of our spirit fully residing in a physical vessel. And that's going to help activate more of our DNA and also activate the change and the transformation of our physical bodies into a higher dimensional field. It's so freaking amazing. It's annoying, I know, but it's amazing that we get to actually experience it.
It's really interesting because I'm a Reiki master. So I've been, practicing Reiki, for myself and also for, family members and people that, I feel called to assist. And a big part of that is also, I don't know how familiar you are with the practice of Reiki, but a big part of that is to open up the main 7 chakras so that they are all aligned, and that, spirit can come in from your crown chakra all the way through all your chakras to help activate and to heal and to help you stay in a status quo that is aligned with your journey, So a lot of what you're saying sounds like that, but it's interesting that you also talk about 7 ascension lessons, which is kind of, the 7 main chakras in the body. And it's interesting because I was also talking to this other wonderful lady who wrote a book on the 7 different goddesses within the body.
Yeah.
So it's just like, so do you see how our soul tribe, those of us that are in that space, are all speaking the same language, but people need to hear it in many different ways. This is why I feel it's coming through to different people to serve a very, very similar message, but maybe using different modalities. And I feel that that's what I'm hearing you say here. So do you have a comment on that before I move to another question that I want to ask you?
No, I just, I actually tried to connect the 7 life lessons to the chakras. I don't remember what came of that, because that was in the beginning when I first learned it and I wanted to integrate it in my own self to understand it more.
Yes.
But I couldn't really find that full connection. I was, I saw that they're really residing in all of the chakras the lower chakras actually more than they were in the higher chakras. So I thought it was pretty interesting, but maybe now if I look at it again, because it's been a few years, something else.
I think so. Like I kind of feel that because you've been on this journey where you've been very focused in your arena, it'd be fascinating to see if you were to step over here and look at those modalities, maybe something more will come to you, because we're always on this perpetual journey as students of experience, right?
Absolutely.
So let me ask you this, Ellyn. Why is it necessary to work on the mind, body, and spirit all at once instead of one at a time, which is what many of us have been taught to do? Like all structures of learning and knowledge are like a stepping stone system, right? So I'd love your thoughts on this.
Okay, so this is what really got me into the Quantum Enlightenment System when I was actually ready and open to receive this. I was on my journey trying to figure out how I can, take away my anger and change myself and better myself. And everybody kept talking about, oh, you just have to change your mindset, you just have to be positive. And I thought, okay, that doesn't feel right. Like something in my body was just like, no, that doesn't feel right. But, at that time I was having a hard time really trusting everything. So I thought, all right, whatever. So I just went to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And finally, after I had my own light body session, I was really depressed. I was so down to the universe brought me to the light body the first time. And I thought, nah, I don't believe in any of that stuff. That's crazy that we would have all these structures in place. I cannot believe that this is something we would choose. And then I got so depressed to the point where I was like contemplating suicide. And
oh gosh.
I had a child. I have a child.
Right.
How am I going to be a mother and a child and be able to do anything? So again, I was brought into light body and I said, you know what? At this point, I'm so desperate, I'll try anything.
I love that.
I'm so happy that I did. Yeah. And now I look at it like the universe brought me into it on purpose. Like this was where I was meant to go. So
if you're not uncomfortable, Ellyn, this is what I've learned with life, right? If you're not so uncomfortable with your status quo, there'll be nothing to incentivize you to want to find alternatives that can take you on a different journey that perhaps is the one that you were truly meant to go on. Something that you, right?
Yes.
Right.
I always say everybody has to suffer in order for them to want something new,
Yes.
You say it so nicely. I'm just like, you have to suffer. But
it's the same thing.
Yeah. You say it in such an eloquent way.
Thank you.
Yes, we absolutely do have to be uncomfortable in order for us to steer ourselves in the right direction, right? This is where it's going. So I finally did it. And then I felt so much better, so much relief. That's when I started my podcast. And literally all this information just started coming through. And then I went on to my journey to, helping others. But then, going back to what we originally spoke about, spirit is the battery. It is what makes us alive. Without spirit, we are dead. So
the life force, right? The life
exactly.
force. Yeah.
Exactly. So what happens if you work only on the mind? What is going to happen? Nothing. What Quantum Enlightenment System made me realize is that our cellular memory record that is holding all the information from all our lifetimes. Can you imagine how much information is in there? That's why I said the most advanced technology out there is our physical bodies. From all the information that it's holding, that it is what is signaling and firing off all these signals to our brains, which is saying, I'm not good enough. I hate myself. I need someone's approval. All of those negative, low vibratory, limiting belief programs, they're all coming from the body. So if you just work on your mind, you're not doing anything. Spirit, mind, and body are all connected because the spirit is what resides in the body. The mind is responding to the body. And the spirit is telling the body and the mind what is happening. Do you understand what
do.
we need to change and what we need to transform?
Oh my gosh. I feel like we need to, send people where they need to go get this program. Where are we sending them, Ellyn?
So you can go to my website, catalytichealing.com. And I have everywhere the blueprint call. The blueprint call is the first step. It's a complimentary call where I get to give you your soul blueprint and tell you what blockages you have. Because I noticed that a lot of people are saying, well, I already worked on this program and I worked on this and I worked on my unworthy issues. But when they come into the call and they see that their body's still holding it, they're like, oh, wow, I really do have to work on this again. But this is what the Quantum Enlightenment System seems to be, the program that people come to at the end when they've tried everything else, because it's, like I said, it's like advanced stuff that is going to really kill the program and take out the device that's holding the program, the device, the crystal, whatever, the structure that's holding the program.
So I know that you've already answered this question, but we're going to encapsulate it. Who needs this system, Ellyn?
I would say everybody needs the system, but I right now work with women because we do have our divine feminine activated and we have more of an understanding of how we can deal with certain emotions. And that's not to say if a man comes to me, I won't work with him because, we're just in a physical body and gender doesn't really equate to anything in the spirit world. So I generally tend to work with a lot of people who are light workers and healers. Those are the people that are coming to me the most. So if you're on that path or feel like you're called to be on that path, then I'd love to work with you.
Absolutely. And again, your website where they can go get all the information and to join?
catalytichealing.com.
Perfect. So you talked a little bit about the man-woman quotient here. I got to ask you a direct question there so we can kind of really understand, how your program operates in regards to gender or not. Are there any nuances that you'd like to share regarding how men and women, generally speaking, that is, adapt the system to their lives and have you found there to be any differences in the results that have been obtained due to gender?
Yes.
Okay. That's the quick answer.
I worked with all women and I saw immediate shifts and, everybody listened, did what they had to do and got amazing transformations. Then I worked with my husband. We had a slower process.
Okay.
We did, instead of 1 week, 1 month, 2 months apart. And his process made him go into a death phase. So his ego was literally dying. He went through a massive depression. I didn't know what happened. I was so scared at that point.
Yeah.
And he came out and I remember him telling me when he was such an amazing different person, he's like, Ellyn, I feel like I died and came back to life like a different person. And he told me everything he felt, all the bliss and all these emotions and all this high energy, everything, all the words that he told me, I had a feeling. I'm like, let me go back into my notes to see what we uploaded for him. And I went into and I messaged him. I said, are these all the emotions and feelings like that you have now? And he said, yes. And I said, oh, okay. He's like, why? And I said, because this is what we installed for you. So I actually was shocked.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I was actually shocked that he came out of this. And I remember when he first told me that he was so depressed and he was blaming me and he was like, oh, it's all your fault. You made me like this. I asked myself, and spirit told me that's because his divine feminine was not activated.
Right.
And for men, because their divine feminine is not activated, some men can have it. And he was a very conscious man. So for him to go through that, it was a big shift. The ego dies and you become a different person. I didn't have any of that with women at all. And I worked with a lot of women. So
how fascinating. And have you worked with any other men other than your husband? Have you gone? Okay. Nope. Yeah. Cause that was like Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was like, I don't want to put anybody else through that. So
Fair enough. I got you. How fascinating is, I feel like there will be a 2.0, a 2.0 version where you'll have figured out how to bring men into this in a less destructive manner, right? Because they go through a lot more destruction because, habitually the conditioning of, our cultures around the world is this patriarchal, superior experience that we've created in all of our infrastructures, in all of our man-made infrastructures, right? Yeah. So it's like you can't blame them, poor things. I feel bad and somewhat sorry for men because their journey is that much more difficult when they don't have the activation of the divine feminine. And we do, by default of the structures we live in and the society that has been created around the world, all right, which on a common denominator perspective is very, very similar, irrespective of where you're from. We are taught very clearly as women what being masculine means, right? So we do have that masculine, feminine scenario. I feel that our narrative is more, how do we balance them, right? How do we bring them together? I feel that, at least from my experience and from a lot of the historical stuff that you see out there as well, in terms of what we've created as humans, it is a harder journey for men because, they've been patted on the back that the masculinity is enough, right? Yep. And it's not. So.
Yeah. And it's also what they chose. They chose in this 3D dimension, right? This third dimensional field, that this is the duality experience that they want to have. So their chromosomes are different, their hormones work differently. All of that creates the infrastructure for how much of the masculinity they're going to have versus the femininity, and also the cultural roles that they get to imprint and have imprinted within them when they grow up. So imagine if a man would just be raised by all females and no men, and would be in that spiritual world, right? And they would say, it's okay to cry. It's okay. And you would see that the females would cry all the time and release their emotions. And can you imagine what kind of man would be imprinted, would have, what imprints he would have when he comes out of that? Totally different, because he's surrounded by a different society or culture or, way of being.
But I feel that that's probably why your husband went on the journey he did, why it was such a destructive journey until he came out to nirvana. His nirvana, I feel, was because of the fact that, physically, all of the chemistry and the chemical makeup of men is in a certain manner, right? And then all of a sudden, it's such a leap for them to step into all of the things that make of the feminine and the divine feminine. It's like, that's a huge leap for them. For us to step into a masculinity isn't as big a leap because of the way we've structured society to be so male, centric. That's my belief system. I'm sure that I respect everybody else's belief system, but that's what kind of logically makes sense to me,
Yeah, it absolutely does make sense. And it's absolutely right. The way, the chemicals and the makeup of a female and a male are totally different. And so, plus the imprints that, we both would face. It's okay for a woman to cry, but it's not okay for a man to cry. Right. I'm only bringing that up because my husband keeps on posting on Facebook now about how toxic masculinity and how, we were taught to hide and not show our feelings, and so that's just keeps popping in my mind. I guess somebody needs to hear it.
Like I think that all of our male audience needs to hear it, but I feel that equally all of our female audience needs to hear it, because we need to be a little kinder to open. Our male counterparts, give them a break and help them along that journey, because it is a little bit more difficult for them, because they the culture and infrastructures that we've created here as humans on Earth have been created to tell the men that they're all complete and they're okay. because that's just the way it is. So I just feel that the message that comes to me is that we need to be a bit more kind and a bit more patient with our men to help them along this journey, because it is a lot more difficult for them from that perspective than it is for women.
Absolutely.
So I want to ask you this before we kind of get ready to round things off. Is this system child friendly? Like, talk to me.
I would say that it is not child friendly. I mean, to a certain extent, what's coming to me is that if there's a child that's holding a certain program, you could do like a piece of it to try to get the program out and to help the child move forward in a certain direction. But the whole program itself is involved with like literally reprogramming your divine blueprint and stopping all of the karma and the vows that you've made to now create a life of bliss and to in fulfillment, to be in your divine mission. So a child is not going to be ready for that because they need to experience certain things in order to get there.
Absolutely. I got you. I completely get what you're saying. So in the world of adults, are there any types of people who are contraindicated to adopting the system?
Yes. People who are on antidepressants, they will not do well in this. I've already actually had a couple of people who are on the blueprint call with me, and it's not that I'm arrogant and saying, nope, this has to work on you. But I've seen when they're like, nope, I don't feel this. I don't feel this. I don't feel this. I'm like, wait a minute, something's off. And then I'm asking, are you on antidepressants? Yep. All right. That explains it. Now I know. And there's no judgment. There's no judgment on that. It's just not. You can't do the system without actually knowing where it is in your body, because that'll tell me the timeline, and that'll also tell us how we can clear it, So being on antidepressants is definitely a contraindication to doing the quantum enlightenment system.
I'm so glad I asked you that question, for everyone that's out there listening into this, because we don't know this, right? So I'm so happy that the question came into my mind to ask you.
Thank you.
I want to absolutely, sweetheart. Thank you. I want to ask you this question, Ellyn. I want to kind of loop us back to the title of this episode. So here it is. How can we unlock our wealth roadmap by using the quantum enlightenment system? Like, what's the connection here?
What is wealth? Wealth is when you are fully in your goddess, right? If you're fully activated, you are living in bliss. That is wealth. Money comes.
It's a part of it.
Yeah. Money comes when you are in your bliss state. It comes when you are in a free mindset, where you're liberated, where you don't have the fears of and old programs from the outside world or from yours holding you back. So wealth is a full activation of you. It's your full activation of your spirit, and it's being in the bliss state, and that's what brings everything together.
And I love this because, when you listen, watch, or read any of these interviews with uber wealthy, uber powerful, or empowered individuals, right? They all pretty much say this in their version of this, right? Is that, money is a part of the 360 dimension of what the definition of wealth actually means in the experience of being a human. You know what I mean? And I feel that, if anyone watching, listening, reading this feels that they always get stuck in that realm, that, like they're always kind of chasing the dollar, and they're always feeling like they have a cup half empty, chances are their cup is half empty, but in a place where they're not looking, in the mind, in the heart, in the body, in the soul. And if you're that person, I really recommend that you just go check out what Ellyn is all about. She gives a free first session, guys. Like, I mean, you can't go wrong. But we have to be very, very mindful of the fact that if you're on any antidepressant medications, this is not the time, and that there will be a time for you when that isn't the case. So I just wanted to kind of put that disclaimer out there as well, in case anyone's just joining us. And if you're just joining us, where have you been? This has been an incredible, incredible discussion, very insightful, just kind of checks off a lot of the boxes of the journey that I've been on. You guys know a lot of what that is. And I want you to kind of go back and start from the beginning of this. I think it's very important that you do, because it'll give you context on a lot of kind of where we've gotten to in this discussion. I want to ask you this, Ellyn, is there anything that you feel regarding the whole connection between wealth creation and, you know, your system that you feel I haven't touched upon, that you'd like to kind of really leave people with? Because I feel that how you defined the whole concept of this 360-degree wealth that we have access to, but we're not accessing, but we can if we go through your program. I want to leave people with that.
So I just want to say that the Quantum Enlightenment System, it strongly accelerates your path up the spiral of growth. It's bringing you inner and outer freedom, and it's movement forward on long-held issues as it pushes up and out all the old programs, the fears. And I know that, and I've seen that, you know, with my case studies and all my clients, that with this work, you will feel blissful, freer, disconnected from the collective fears and imprints, and on your path to fulfilling your purpose. So that's ultimately the goal of this whole program.
One last time, website, and how can people hang out with you? Like your podcast, you have a newsletter, your social handles. Let everyone know, Ellyn.
catalytichealing.com, Instagram, Facebook, Catalytic Healing. It's simple as that. I have a YouTube channel. So, you know, all my podcasts are on the YouTube channel as well. And I'll be doing more YouTube videos soon. But there's a lot more stuff that's coming through, actually, a 2.0 that you mentioned. So it's really exciting.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait. Then you got to come back when 2.0 comes out, and we're gonna continue our discussion. Ellyn, thank you so much for sharing the benefits that the Quantum Enlightenment System can bring into people's lives. Super happy to have had you on, sweetheart. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Guys, if today's episode has piqued your interest to know more, I encourage you, as I have been doing throughout this episode, I encourage you to go to join Ellyn's ecosystem. She just mentioned everywhere you can go find her, hang out with her, go get that free session, and share the wisdom, folks. Share it with everyone that you care about, whether it's in your personal space or whether it's in your professional space at work, guys. I really hope that you got some real value from today's show, and will share it with everyone you know who you feel needs to get these learnings today. I also hope that you'll subscribe. As I always say at the bottom of my show, I want you guys to subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the notification button at the Open Chest Confidence Academy so that you never miss an episode. And we drop them every Wednesday, guys. Okay, so please, please, please go check out all of the ones that we've had out there. We hit 100 episodes recently, so go check them out, guys, and share them with everyone. Thank you so much, Ellyn. You can also download the Transform Your Confidence show on podcast platforms and give it a 5-star rating, guys, if you feel that it's a valuable resource to assisting your journey to empower your confidence with actionable insights. Or if, like me, you absolutely just love to hang out and share just some valuable space together each week, because that's why I love coming out and hanging out with you guys. And just to kind of close off, you can also read the podcast as a blog article at the openchestconfidenceacademy.com/media/podcast. And if you need any assistance on working on your personal brand, media, marketing, any of those types of strategies. You guys know I've been in the industry for the last 20 years with my own multimedia and events company. You know also that I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I've been in the entrepreneurial space for over 30 years. There isn't anything that you are going to come across that I haven't already come across and figured out a way to overcome it, whether it's through things I've learned or whether it's through things that I've experienced through others. So head over to my website at the openchestconfidenceacademy.com and book a free discovery call. Let's find out what is that magic piece that's in your lives that's going to help you elevate and empower your brand. And your brand is not just this business thing that everybody keeps talking about. Your brand is just this element of you that makes you special and unique. That's truly what being a unique brand is. And if you can't figure out what that is, it's in there. We can figure it out together. So I'll see you next week, my darlings, for another invaluable episode packed with insights and learnings to help empower your work, your life, and your spirit. I love you guys. I'll see you next week.